our Pupil Services Director.
Could you speak in a microphone, Cheryl?
I can.
Thank you. Is that okay?
Oh,
Thank you.
Here I am.
Make sure it's on. Okay. I think so, yes? Okay. Okay, so, I know. Interviewing and hiring Lorraine for the position of paraeducator.
Is that on?
It's not?
Is it on?
I think it is. Yes?
The
Is that
line,
better?
not the zero, the line.
The line.
Is on. That's
Okay,
yeah, I
thank
had
you.
it on.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to start over. Interviewing and hiring Lorraine for a paraeducator will truly be something that I always remember. I sit in countless interviews a year, but it was the beginning of a school year. We were short on paras, as we generally are, and along came Lorraine. She was a CNA with no previous experience as a paraeducator, but there was something about her interview. It was just like you instantly connected with her. And I thought, gosh, she's going to be great working with kids. So initially, Lorraine.
Was I? Yeah, I mean, you thought
Well,
that.
well, here you are. Okay.
I just thought I'd throw that in.
So that's testament right there. Yeah. So initially, Lorraine was hired to work at Lyman, supporting special education students in both the resource room, general education classrooms, and the VOAG department. So she was all over the place. Fast forward to present day. How long have you been with us? I was trying to figure.
This is my 6th year.
Okay, so fast forward 6 years. And Lorraine has now worked in all 3 of our supporting students of all ages in various capacities, including the role of being a one-to-one paraeducator for students with some pretty complex learning profiles. So I vividly recall the first time that I actually reassigned Lorraine because, you know, you develop a comfort level when you're hired for a position and you become good at what you're doing. So after receiving her assignment letter, she scheduled an appointment to come and see me. And she asked me why I had reassigned her to the middle school. So I shared with her, her evaluations have been outstanding. She's had, you know, excellent rapport working with kids. She's done great up at the high school, but that I felt that her skill set was going to match a student at the middle school at the time, and that supporting the student was going to help propel this student. I can't say that Lorraine was thrilled about this because she wasn't. But the interesting thing was that several months later, she scheduled another appointment with me. And she, do you remember this? Yeah, yeah. And she came back to see me to thank me for believing in her and for transferring her into the new position, but really to tell me that the student was excelling. And we had a really great conversation about how Lorraine's skill set was continuing to expand as well with working with this student. So think about this for a moment. She came and actually thanked me for transferring her. I was like, this is like amazing. So fast forward to distance learning at the end of the 1920 school year. In the midst of figuring out how to best position students for success, word came to me that Lorraine had gone above and beyond. We had a student who was completely disengaged in distance learning. And what did Lorraine do? She packed up extension cords, chairs, Chromebooks, etc., and set up in the student's front yard in order to get the student jump-started into distance learning. This certainly was not an expectation of the district, so I just want to make that clear. Yeah. Yeah, this is just what Lorraine does to reach kids. So Lorraine received several nominations from teachers other instructional assistants, and parents for Lebanon's Paraeducator of the Year. To say that Lorraine effectively meets all the standards of an outstanding paraeducator is truly an understatement. She's a strong advocate for students, develops relationships with families, and supports her colleagues. The day the committee members surprised Lorraine at her house was another epic moment with her career. I scheduled a Google Meet with Lorraine under the pretense that I wanted to discuss with her some concerns that I had about a student who wasn't achieving. And Lorraine was supporting the student at the time. So Lorraine signs into the Google Meet and had her documentation logs all ready to go and go over what was happening with the student. And then she realized we were all standing in her front yard. And she was like, "Are you in my front yard?" So we surprised her with flowers and balloons, and it was just a great moment. So I'm absolutely thrilled to recognize Lorraine as our Paraeducator of the Year, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I know she wants to speak because she always has something that she wants to add.
Wow. No. Hello, I don't think this is on, but anyway. First of all, for the record, I loved working at Lyman. It was my first assignment. It was very, very hard to leave my very first family, and I think that was just devastating to me because I really thought I had done something wrong to get reassigned. So the reassignment was wonderful. It doesn't really matter. I have decided to leave it to the powers that be to put me where I am needed the most, and I feel Cheryl has always done a great job and has paired me with some pretty special kids. So rather than start crying, I just want to thank you. It's a great job, and I do it from my heart, and I'm an overdoer, and so I just can't help it. But I thank you very much. It's a huge, huge honor for me, and I have a plaque, and I really like that. So thank you very much. I would take this off if I could.
Thank you, Lorraine.
All right, and for Teachers of the Year, that program is run and organized by Sam McCarthy, our assistant principal at the high school. She's unable to be with us this evening, so Jay Apicelli, our principal, will fill in. Big shoes to fill.
Oh, I know. There was a unnatural disaster that happened to Sam, so she's still fixing it in her apartment. So I just wanted to read off. This is what Sam had said at our convocation, where we introduced all of our Teachers of the Year. So this past year has been nothing short of challenging for all the faculty and staff in our district. While it is easy to focus on the negative, it is more important to focus on all the positive. Lebanon Public Schools once again proved how amazing our teachers are. You quickly transitioned into a whole new way of teaching and learning. You were able to support our students and continue to make them successful while supporting and learning yourselves. This is no small task, and we want you to know how much we appreciate you for all that. In addition, several changes the administrative team also decided to change the Teacher of the Year nomination process. We allowed for all faculty, staff, students, and parents to be a part of the process. While it garnered some comical responses like props to Carlos for the Build-A-Burger Day at the high school, and high school students feel Stromy is for the homies, it also allowed for the opportunity to see the impact you all make on our students. I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate all of the nominees in the district. I probably shouldn't have read that. That was from the other one. And then she actually wrote in applause. So now, our first teacher currently teaches third grade at LES. She is going into her 19th year in the district. In her nominations, it says she has this magic ability to instill a love of reading and learning. She allows her students to explore topics that interest them, and she will find 100 books to help them explore. She lets her students lead, and she follows with love, encouragement, and knowledge. And she is an amazing teacher. She has a special ability to connect with each student in her classroom. She displays enthusiasm in all her lessons, which then gets the kids excited to learn. She uses a variety of teaching methods so that every student understands what is being taught. She is kind, funny, and cares for every child in her class. Congratulations, Erin Pistel. Our next teacher, whoops. Okay, thank you. Our next teacher taught at Lyman for 39 years. He taught science, and his passion for geology was something you could see the moment you walked into his classroom. In his nominations, it says, he cares about his students. He pays attention to you. He knows when you're struggling and when you're not trying. When I'm struggling immensely on a worksheet, he'll not only explain it without giving the answer, but he'll crack jokes to lighten up your mood. He's like the uncle you look forward to seeing at the family reunions. Not to mention how cool he is and how amazing of a sense of humor he has. And I continue to learn and enjoy new material in his class. He is a great all-around teacher and person. He makes his classes fun while still holding us to high standards. We will miss his Monday funnies at Lyman. Congratulations, Jim Motika. The last teacher and District Teacher of the Year is going into her 6th year at Lebanon Middle School. She currently teaches 8th grade English and is an administrative intern. In her nominations, it says, she has always gone above and beyond for her students and their families, not only as a teacher, but as a mentor and as the advisor for the 8th grade. Her focus and energy on helping students achieve the ability to pay for the Washington trip, along with stellar communication regarding subsequent changes and refunds, is reflective of her passion. She has each student, family, and their community in mind at all times. And she is just one of those teachers that continuously goes above and beyond for her students. She works hard to make connections in her classroom and successfully does this because students often seek her out when they're having problems, and not just in her class. She is a leader in the building among the staff, taking on projects that will help improve the school, serving on various committees, and be someone you can go to get things done. We also wanted to include here, she was in the top 4 for the Connecticut Teacher of the Year process. She's finished in the top 4, so that is quite an accomplishment.
Can we have Erica come on up?
Oh, yeah.
To the table?
Here, you can sit in front of the mic. Yeah. Erica.
So as Jay just concluded, Erica was a top 4 finalist for the whole state to be Connecticut's Teacher of the Year. So I think it's important to note that in the last few years, we had a semifinalist in John Cody, and now we have a Final Four recipient in Erica. So it really does bode well for the district that our teachers do so well in comparisons at the state level. But it's because we've been able to hire exceptional teachers like Erica, and our students and our staff really benefit for everything that she does in the district. And so, Erica, I don't know if you want to impromptu say a few words to the board.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you all for the opportunity to, work here and work with your children, the students, and such. And I did not win, but being in the top 4 was just such a wonderful experience. And I just want to say that to me, I've won. To have worked in this town and to hopefully continue my career here for a long, long time. I love it. I just appreciate all you do, what the teachers do, the students we have, our administration. So thank you so much. It's because of you all that I'm here. So thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much, all of our Teachers of the Year. Some of you have a special place in my heart with the connection with my own children, but just to come back at you, Erica, really, we won. Our district won because of you, so thank you so much. Okay, thank you for that presentation. Super important work, and thank you for those who presented as well. Our next item on the agenda is communication. We have letters of resignation.
Yes. So we have a few letters for the board this evening. One is from Amy Hurt. She was the librarian assistant at Lebanon Elementary School, newly hired this year. And unfortunately, the job was not quite what she expected. As you know, we don't have a librarian at the elementary school. And so we do ask a lot of the assistant at the elementary school, and it was just a little bit more than what she had expected. But she does write that she appreciated the opportunity and that the staff has been very kind. Second is one from Robin Novitny. Robin is a part-time secretary at the middle school. She is submitting her letter of resignation due to COVID-19 and the requirements that the state has put on the district for attendance taking and some other issues that have arisen out of COVID-19, the communications, et cetera. We felt that we needed to add hours to the part-time secretary, similar to what we did with our part-time custodian and then hiring additional custodians. Because Robin has a main job outside of our district, the part-time job was a supplemental position for her. She was not able to provide the additional hours. And so she resigned the position, and she writes that she is so grateful for the 4 years she held the position, and then were things to change, she would be interested in coming back again. We have a letter of resignation from Mike Jaffe. He is a new teacher that was hired this year to fill a chemistry vacancy at the high school. He wrote a very long letter explaining in detail some of the personal issues and family issues that he has. I'm not going to read all of that into the record, but due to some pressing family concerns, Mike really felt that he couldn't commit to us and commit to the home situation, and so he did resign effective immediately on the date that he wrote this letter, October 2nd. And he writes that he truly thanks us for the opportunity to be a part of the Lebanon Public Schools. He wished it could have worked out, but the timing is just not good for him personally. We also have a letter of resignation from Virginia DeLong. She's a school counselor here at the middle school. And she writes, please accept my resignation from my position as the Lebanon Middle School school counselor. Her last day will be November 5th. And then she writes, unless the district agrees to release her earlier, but she is going to stay through November 5th. And that works out for her and the district that she's leaving us for. And she writes, it has been her pleasure to work in the district over the past 15 years, both at the high school and the middle school as a school counselor. She's enjoyed working with many students and their families over the years and will definitely keep memories that she has from working here in her heart. Lebanon is a special place, and she's fortunate to have formed the many relationships that she has over the years. She's leaving us, she writes, for career opportunity where she'll be a department head for school counseling at Norwich Tech. Right. She's a big loss to the school and to our district. Virginia DeLong, as you know, was a Teacher of the Year for our district, and she was also the Connecticut School Counselor of the Year. That was announced at a previous meeting. She, when I met with her and she tendered her letter, she said it's a bittersweet for her. It's also bittersweet, I think, for the school and for the district. But when we lose people to career advancement, it also is an indicator that the district is a healthy district. We're able to provide growth opportunities for our staff. Because we're small, sometimes people have to leave to take advantage of their new abilities that we've allowed them to grow and nurture here in Lebanon. We also have a letter of resignation from Katie Lamb. Katie is an IA hired this year at the elementary school. She's resigning because the position wasn't exactly what she expected. Working with smaller, younger children is something that she found is not the best for her, and she found it a bit stressful at times. She writes that she's going to, work on her future career decisions, and that she had a great opportunity working with our teacher, April, at the elementary school. And that's all the letters of resignation and retirement.
Thank you, Bob. Communication, we have a letter from LEA building representatives of LES.
Yeah, so in your packet, there are several letters that came to us last Friday, most of them. There was one that came a little bit earlier that I had shared with the board last week. Last week. That's also in your packet. So most of the letters were written by teachers prior to the opening back to full instruction that started on October 5th. There are some letters that came in dated after that. Hopefully you've all read the letters. There's a lot of information in there. The teachers wrote to express concerns about, our COVID-19 mitigating strategies. As you know, we're not able to maintain 6-foot distancing. We are more in the 3 to 6 foot range, and we're really striving to stay within the 4 to 6 foot range. And so, teachers in their letters express concern that we can't always be at 6 feet. They express concerns about cleaning products, and a couple of them wrote that they purchased cleaning products for their classrooms. That I'm not sure why it happened. The district has never been without cleaning products for the classrooms. And so some teachers went ahead and purchased things for their rooms. They did that on their own. We've always had cleaning supplies in the classrooms. We've always had the hand sanitizers, wipes, et cetera, in stock. So those are the big two concerns. There have been some concerns that have been raised regarding cleaning the schools, right? And each time the concerns have been raised, they've been addressed. But as Mr. French spoke to at the meeting prior to this one, we have had some staffing issues with our custodians in that, even in the times of COVID, other things are going on in the lives of our employees. And so we have had some of our custodial staff have to be out of work for other reasons that normally occur in the lives of people. And so that has created some issues on 3 or 4 occasions where we had to do some cleaning in the morning that normally wouldn't have had to occur. But those issues should be getting mitigated now that we're fully staffed in terms of the additional custodial staff that we hired, and the staff that have been out on long-term absences are now returning to us.
Bob, I'd like to speak on that for just a moment, because there were, like, as you said, many letters that were addressed to board members. So as far as that is concerned, I feel like the teachers have taken their time to address these letters to us and raise some important concerns, that most of which, or now all of which, you are aware of. So the board would like to have a written communication also back to the teachers addressing all of those areas that were addressed with a plan when necessary. So maybe you could work with the building administration, IT. There were a lot of IT issues, facilities. So if you could respond in writing to that and CC the board, that would be. I think I speak for the board when I say that would be a requirement at this point.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to public participation. Each member of the public who chooses to speak, we will dedicate 30 minutes to the entire public participation session if necessary. Individual speakers will be limited to 2 minutes. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak tonight? Jeanette?
Shorter than everybody else. First of all, I wanted to thank all the board members for reading the packet of letters. I know it's rather thick, probably a good 1/4 inch, but we felt it was important for you to hear from all members of our teaching staff, from the elementary school and our littlest ones who sit on the floor with their teachers and need a contact that we can't quite give them right now, to the high school kids who are really trying to move toward their adult lives in a time when it's very difficult to look at the future. Our teachers are doing everything they can to make this learning experience a positive one, despite all the constraints. But as you can tell from the tone of the letters, they are frustrated, they are scared, they are worried, they are exhausted. I was going to read the whole letter into the record, but clearly you all know what it says, so I won't take that time. But I do want to, first of all, express our extreme gratitude for the champions that you've been for us as faculty. I know many of you are in school systems yourselves and you understand because of your daily lives as teachers. But this is, I hate to admit it, but this is my 36th year teaching. And I have never experienced a year like this and the kinds of challenges that we face. So I thank you very much for reading our letter, for taking into consideration our very specific concerns. And we are here and we are ready to work with you to make our school both a fruitful educational home for our students, but also a safe home for everybody in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak tonight? Kathleen?
Hi, Kathleen Smith. Again, Jeanette and I are here just to relay to you that if you came into the schools, I'm sure you'd see that the teachers are happy within the school. We're putting our best foot forward. We're making an inviting place for the kids and very welcoming and keeping things very upbeat. But we just wanted to make sure that you knew also that way deep down inside, teachers are hurting in a lot of ways, as so much is going through our minds and that we're trying to deal with. So just still on the daily basis, we're faced with concerns that we hold deep within us. And we appreciate you reaching out also and understanding what we're going through. We know that and we want you to know that your support is truly appreciated in these very unprecedented times. So thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to participate?
Good evening. For those of you who do not know me, I am Tammy Boone. I have substituted in this school district for over 7 years. Later, you are scheduled to hear a report that concerns the 7th grade science position. With that, I am here to talk to you and to fulfill a promise that I gave to all of my 7th grade students, all of the middle school staff, and the middle school administration that I would not stay quiet about this position until it becomes full-time again. Science is vital, and this grade level has had full-time science teachers prior to this. Their enrollment is larger now than years past, and without this vital position being full-time, it puts undue strain on the remaining 3 7th grade teachers throughout the day. When I personally chatted with our superintendent on August 31st about this concern, he immediately stated that the number of vacancies across our state, and with that I told him and many others since then that this position should have never been part of those statistics to begin with. I asked him at that point to get creative and to reestablish this position to full-time. In this single position alone, we have seen a staff change 4 times in the last 6 school years. 3 of those changes since November of 2019, less than 1 year ago. Our students deserve better than this lack of consistency for their academic success. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak for myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve the minutes of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Nicole to approve consent agenda, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our reports of the committees. Let's start with Matt and move on. Matt, do you have a report?
I do not have a report at this time. I was on vacation. I did not attend the last meeting.
Thanks, Matt. Nicole?
Okay, this is a big one. So the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee meeting met twice, one on September 22nd and then today on 10/13. We talked about, I'm going to go back to September 22nd first. We talked about the snow contract, and we were brainstorming ways to kind of do something different. So we're creating a subcommittee, which is open to any of the Board of Ed members if they would like to participate. Would like to make the first meeting October 22nd at 7:30 p.m. And we're going to invite members of the selectmen, the first two selectmen, also the head of the DPW as well. So we can meet once a month, and hopefully by July we'll come up with a different plan, if possible. School ventilation system, we talked about that today. The relief fans at Lyman need to be reprogrammed. One fan needs to be rewired at LMS. Other than that, looks like the school ventilation in all three schools is looking pretty good. The MERV 13 filters have been replaced in LMS. All of them have been replaced, and now they'll be working on Thursday to do LES and also Lyman. The 2021 budget is in good shape. We were allotted $145,000 by the state for COVID. Mostly all of that, plus the funds from last year as well. We talked about capital and how technology has used about $26,000 of their $90,000 for Chromebook replacements and projectors. Facilities has spent $53,000 on asbestos abatement and painting, and the fire panel at, I believe it's LMS, correct, Bob?
Yes.
LMS, yep. Athletics, $54,000 on the tennis court, and that has been used up. The non-lapsing account currently has $156,647. The grants, Title I and II, School Readiness, Perkins, IDEA, and ASTE are all being worked on. There has been an increase in Title I funds. It was 57-ish thousand last year, and it's been increased to 104,000, so that's additional money for our district. IDEA has increased by 6,000, and the ASTE program has been given an additional $20,000. Let's see. The facilities, LMS, the heating system is ready to go. The fuel tank is being worked on right now at Lyman. There will most likely be an additional cost due to the generator reworking some fuel, something like that. And then finally, the 2021-22 budget is now in the hands of the administrative team. They're going to be working on their budget requests, and they'll be meeting with Bob at the first week of November. That's it.
Any questions for Nicole? We just threw a lot at you.
Yeah, sorry.
No, thank you for that work, Nicole.
Okay.
You've been very busy. One thing, maybe we can discuss that later on in our agenda, is the tuition of for staff members.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was in the 9/22 meeting.
It's in the minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you
And
want
it
to.
is an action item too. So
We can talk about it. We'll discuss it during the action
Okay,
items.
great.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, reports of committees. Dawn?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Maureen, policy.
Yes, we have some second readings today, and I haven't scheduled any meetings because we've had so much other stuff going on, but I'm working on some stuff, and maybe we'll have a meeting in a few weeks.
Great. Thank you. All right. Alexis, safety and security.
No report.
John, superintendent evaluation.
Yeah, we met on the 30th of September where Superintendent Angeli provided us with his indicators of success for his goal, and I believe, Bob, that you'll be sharing with them during your superintendent's
yeah,
report?
they were at the places. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Janelle, curriculum.
We have not met yet, and I'm looking forward to meeting.
Okay, great. And Mark, negotiations.
Negotiations. We're working on with two contracts right now, one for the secretaries, one for the instructional assistants. And the secretaries, we've had a series of meetings already, and we are bringing that, we're going to be going for mediation on that one. And the other one, we just had one meeting so far, so that's where we are.
Great, thank you. And that's at the end of the month, I believe, right? October, yes, the end of this month. Governance did not meet this month. Nothing to report there. Thank you all. Moving on to administrators' reports.
So they're included in your packets. Are there any administrators that would like to add anything to their reports that are in the packets?
I think Delta's going to talk a little bit for
Great, thank you. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the student representative report. Delton, sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, so this is my first time, so sorry if it's a little weird. I'd just like to say student reaction at Lyman at least has been relatively positive to wearing a mask all day. I was expecting them to be a little more negative towards it, but I think they understand that it's important for our health and safety. It's been great eating outside during lunch and having a mask break for a couple of classes when we go outside. That's been very nice. The hybrid schedule I thought worked very well while it was in progress. I think it was just a good system. And so far our transition into full-time has been a little confusing schedule-wise, but it's also been very manageable, and I've been enjoying that as well. It's been great having my friends with C last names back in my class, so that's great. This was, I think I wrote this before lunch because I was hungry at the time, but the cafeteria food this year has been excellent. I just wanted to throw that out there. It was really good this year. I have a couple of classes where we move into a really big classroom to help with, just because we have 20 students in there, so it's necessary for it, and I think that was a very good solution for large classes. I've also talked to many athletes, and they're all very grateful to be having a sports season, so I'd like to thank everybody for allowing that to happen. I also only talked to my parents over the past 4 days since I've been assigned to this role. So I know that many parents of the volleyball girls team would be overjoyed to be able to see their children play in person. And I've also talked to my sister, so I know that the players would be overjoyed not to have their parents bug them about it every day. So that sums up my report pretty much.
Can't believe you've only had the job for 4 days. You did great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question for Doug?
Yes.
Or do you see any issues? Do you have any issues you'd like to bring forward about anything?
At the moment, I don't have anything, but I think over the next month or so with COVID, I think a bunch of craziness will probably ensue. I know the workload has been a little all over the place from teacher to teacher. It's been manageable though, for me at least. I know some students I know the senior project has been a little difficult to work on this year especially, because it's harder to find like meetups with your teachers and just managing that entire workload on top of college submissions and all of the regular homework. So I know that's been quite stressful, but...
Okay. Great, well let us know. Thank you.
Thanks. Dawn has a question.
Once you're in this role for more than 4 days,
Yes.
has anybody talked to you about resources in terms of reaching out to students who have chosen to do distance learning and see what their successes or challenges are? So we can get that information as well.
Absolutely, I can absolutely do that. I do know a couple of distance learners. I was technically a distance learner for half the week a couple of months ago, so I know that unstable internet connections can be very difficult to deal with, but that's kind of expected. The app Google Classroom has been immensely helpful to the entire student body because it manages basically all of your homework for it, and you can just fill it out and turn it in. I've also spoken to a couple of teachers, and I know that they've always loved Google Classroom as well because you can just grade everything back to back to back. So I know that app has been very helpful. Google Meet we've used that a lot for at-home learning, so that's been a good app to have used. But I will talk to a couple of full distance learners and see what they have issues with.
I have somebody I can put you in contact with because I believe their experience has been quite different. From
It has? Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be nice to be able to hear from,
Yeah.
as long as they'd feel safe to provide that information. So, thanks.
Thank you, Dalton. All right. We'll move on to the report of the superintendent.
So I'm going to ask Barbara to come up and sit at the table. So for the first piece under the superintendent's report, Lyman Memorial High School is a approaching its 100-year anniversary. So it's a couple of school years out, but Barbara is a veteran celebration planner, and she knows that it takes about 18 months to pull off a good celebration. So Barbara has already started the process, and she's met with Jay. She and I have also had a meeting, but we wanted to fill the board in on the status of the early actions, and then to let the board know that we're going to get a committee up and running that will likely be in operation for about 18 months, we see. So Barbara?
Thank you.
And Jay?
Yeah, Barbara Winglowski, lifetime resident of Lebanon and 1979 graduate. So I've been invited by Mr. Angeli to inform you that Lyman will be celebrating its centennial during the 2022-23 school year. So we still have, technically we have 2 years, but 3 school years. So in January, I approached Mr. Apicelli regarding the upcoming milestone. And then since then, we both talked to Mr. Angeli, who gave me his support. And it's been months with all closures before we've been able to come to you. So as a background for those who are not aware, a brief history at the beginning of Lyman High School. An extraordinary gesture upon the December 1919 death of George W. Lyman, he left a major share of his estate to the town of Lebanon to build a high school. Lyman's bequest of $15,000 towards construction and $36,700 for maintenance was accepted by a town vote of 180 to 16 on October 4th, 1920. So that was 100 years ago this past weekend. In accordance with the clause of Lyman's will, the school was to be named after him. The school opened September 11th, 1922, with 2 graduates in the 1923 class. Now, at its 3rd location and in its 3rd building, Lyman Memorial High School still carries the name of the man who had no children of his own, but left his fortune to benefit all the children of his hometown. So over 100 years, we've had thousands graduate from Lyman, and they're proud to be alumni. We have notable athletes, artists, musicians, star farmers, all come through our doors. We can also make note that we had the first black principal in the state of Connecticut, Marshall Jenkins, who served from 1957 to 1963. And he helped build the junior-senior high school, this current middle school. And he just passed away at the age of 94 in August. So as a courtesy of the board, I'm here tonight to advise you that an alumni committee will be set up to plan the details and events of the celebration. The committee would include a member of the class of 2023, the centennial class. At this time, the intent is for all events and activities to be paid for by donations requested and received. And Mr. Abicelli also has class funds available. I would like to set up my committee and begin meeting after the first of the year. Also, as part of this, I have begun to write a history, which includes FOAG, sports, faculty, everything for Lyman, and put it in book form. The Lebanon Historical Society has agreed to work with me and the committee. So I hope that the board agrees with Mr. Apicelli, Mr. Angeli, the Historical Society, and myself that if this important milestone in our town and public schools history should be marked, and you will give your approval to begin our planning stages. In these uncertain times, we have something positive to look forward to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. That sounds so exciting.
So we'll just keep, once we get a committee going, we'll just do some monthly reports or however to.
Do we need a motion?
Do we? I don't. An action item?
Action?
Item, but I mean.
We could put it on our next agenda if you don't want to.
Can't we add it
let's
today?
put it on
Oh,
tonight.
can't we just do it today?
What would we move?
Well,
To
she
support?
was looking for us to agree, so I figured we needed to agree somehow.
Why don't we do it now?
I don't think so either. I mean, we could all go around and say how we feel about supporting, right? I don't think we need to vote on it, though.
Okay, we'll just say thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, proceed.
You have our blessing.
There you go.
Thank you. Well, we weren't sure how this was to become a committee, so we said, as a courtesy, we would come to you and
Thank
say,
you.
this is what we're doing.
Thanks.
appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Reach out, yeah, and let us know what we can do to support, I mean, to help. This sounds great.
And so, as Barbara said, there's going to be alumni on the committee, but there will also be current staff and students, right? And so it's a big event, and it'll probably take a core group, like a steering committee, and then ancillary groups working on separate different things. And then we'll plan a celebration with different events that can occur throughout that year.
Great. Sounds great. Thank you for working on that.
Thank you.
All right, our next.
Wait, Sarah, could I just say one thing? Dalton is his first time here. He might have some homework he has to work on, so we can let him go if he'd like to.
I would, but I just noticed that enrollment was next on the list. Is that going to be about to be discussed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'd just like to put a little input on that. I don't know if it's about to be covered anyway, but I know one of the biggest reasons that we're losing enrollment right now is because the FFA department right now has an incredible promotional video right now. It has like a bunch of drone shots and all this. And I know that the other tech schools as well have incredible videos. And then I know that Lyman Memorial itself does not have any of those. So we lose, I have no idea what the percentage is, but I was talking to my sister who's in the freshman class, and she lost, like, I don't know, maybe a third of her class to other tech schools because they all thought that Lyman was just some big farming school and didn't know about all of its other capabilities. So I just wanted to put that out there before.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
An
Interesting
important info.
perspective.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for as long as you like. I'm just giving you the opportunity to
I do
vote.
have homework. Yes. I have some college submission essays I have to work on. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you,
Well,
Dalton.
no, thank you for coming.
All right, so moving on to more enrollment.
Right. So just to Delton's point about promotional video, we actually did produce one for the ag program last year, and Mr. Apicelli is working on a newer version of a promotional video for the high school. So we have an older video that was produced by a student several years ago as her senior project. And so we've been using that, and it's very well received. But we are updating that, and so Mr. Apicelli started that process last school year.
Right, we went out and we got 3 bids for that. But once COVID hit, we couldn't do anything, and there wasn't any filming. There was no sports. There was nothing to film. They couldn't see, any kind of school life, see students inside the school. So that was kind of put on hold. But we do have one. Group that did, and it's worth bringing them back in to talk to them again. The bid that they submitted was back in February, so I'm going to have to talk to them again about updating that.
You don't know what the bid was off the top of your head, do you?
Well, there were different. There was one person that never got back to me. He came in, did a tour of the school, we talked, we never submitted anything. There was another one that said $10,000, and then there was another one that was like $7,200.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dawn?
So I'd like to encourage us to start or come late to the game to thinking outside of the box in terms of advertising our school system, because even though they couldn't record inside the school or the fact that no sports were happening, there's still a way to interview students, interview teachers, play up the fact that we were able to transition to online learning very quickly, and while it was bumpy, it was working. So there's still a way to advertise our school that may not look the same way that it did a couple of years ago. So hopefully we can rethink how we are actually communicating and using all of the apps and things like that that are available to us.
Do you know who put together the video for graduation? That was in-house, wasn't it? The cap toss and all that people loved?
Yes, that was done by Emma Mackenzie.
Okay, so the normal monthly enrollment report is in your packet. You will see that there's been a decrease since the beginning of the school year from 966 in September to 952 students in October. Most of those changes occurred at the elementary school, where the enrollment went from 351 to 340. A good number of those were due to COVID-19 concerns of the parents of our youngest students, but we have also had some families move in and move out of the district, and some of the families that have left have taken students out of the system as they leave our town. Right, the number that you see for the magnets, you'll see that the magnet school enrollment for the district is at 25. So we have 6 fewer students from last year to this year enrolled in the magnet schools. I imagine that some of that also is parents either returning their kids to our district, or they are opting for homeschool during COVID.
Yes, just curious, these numbers also reflect that students at home, 100%, that are doing 100% distance?
The children that are still enrolled in the district but are doing distance learning, yes, they're included in the numbers.
Thank you.
Dawn?
So last month, we emphasized the growth at the elementary school, and now we are seeing a 15 student decrease specifically at the elementary school. So can you speak more to that, please?
So it's 11
It's 15,
students
actually. It's 15.
from September to October?
Yes. Yep.
351 to 340?
So if you look at pre-K, they gained 4, which means in the other grades we lost 15.
Oh, I was just looking at the overall numbers.
Yeah, it's a 15 student decrease.
Yeah, so again, some of that are parents opting to homeschool their children.
So did they start the school year and then what they were seeing decided to then homeschool, or because the numbers from September are from we had already started school.
That's correct.
So they started their children at the beginning of the year, and in that month decided to then homeschool.
Some of them, yes. And
It also could have happened from when we went hybrid to 100% in, maybe families didn't feel as comfortable. I'm not sure if that's...
Well, that's kind of what I'm asking, is like if that was the change.
Yeah, so when we went from hybrid to full in-school, I don't know the numbers, at each school, but overall the switch to distance learning or into full in-school, it was about the same. So we had families early on say they were going to send their children if we were in-school instruction, but when we changed that to hybrid, some of them had their children in distance learning. and then vice versa. So then when we switched back to in-school instruction, those parents swap back out the other way. The kids that are distance learning are included in these numbers. So the decrease would be parents who are opting not to send their children to school for either COVID, or we've had some families leave Lebanon.
Right. But this, again, I'm emphasizing because it happened after the school year. So some parents who knew that they were going to homeschool their children because of, whatever decision happened before. So we already lost some before the school year started. And now we don't know the exact number, but somewhere in this 15 just at the elementary school, they, during that month, decided to homeschool or moved out of town. But we don't know the numbers of that. We don't know, would we get these 15 back if they felt safe to send their kids back to our school? We don't, we have no information about that.
I think that we would get most of them back. Is that your understanding as well?
Some of the numbers, so they're required to complete a homeschool form. And there are a few families that have a couple of kids in our school that they, despite our social worker and multiple support services reminding them of the paperwork, they knew they were never going to send their schools before school, and it just, to get them to physically fill out, whether we faxed it, send it, some of these families took, I think because of the stress of life, it took a long time to complete some paperwork that's required. There were, in this last bulk of students that left, some moved, yes, and some chose homeschool. The most recent ones, I did not have as many detailed conversations as I did initially. A lot of my families that were very active told me very early on, we're coming back, we're so, it's just, whatever, personal, right, family, daycare, all sorts of things. So this last little influx, I think it was just stress of some of them were distance learners, not being able to keep up with that system. Some were just medical, nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody has a story, and I've been on the phone, and it's a lot, in more cases than not, they want to be back. But I don't know, I don't know what happens when they go to homeschool, if they like that situation, it'll be interesting. I don't know anyone personally that homeschools, so I couldn't speak of that, of maybe they would change their mind. But of the ones I did speak with, most of them said they were coming back.
Do we have a homeschool number? How many are being homeschooled in the district?
The last number I had was 24.
Okay. That might not even be accurate, right? Because people move to town and just don't enroll their kids.
Yes.
Then we don't know the number, right?
We wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That's correct.
We only have students that were
Here and left,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there's from last June to now, that's 40 kids plus missing from our district. So I'm just wondering, are most of them homeschooled right now, or have half of them moved?
Some moved out of state.
Okay.
I think what's happened right with COVID is it's not just the school situation, it's also jobs and everything, right, that comes with this, and needing more of a partnership. I can't even speak for myself, right? I can't, especially if your parents are of an age that could be considered restful while you're having your kids watch them, right? Now they need to find a bigger community. Unless you're in a pod where you can do that with other families, you don't have a family to help with all this. This is difficult.
And it's also, I'm personally speaking, it's impacted my family because on the upper side, elderly people are now impacted, and that adds into the whole family dynamics like you had in that letter.
Yes.
And I think that teaching children of my age at home is the most challenging by far, because they require someone. You can't just put a 5-year-old on a device without someone helping. So it's a different layer than the middles. You know, I have an elementary and I have a middle schooler, so I can see the big difference just in that.
And then, you know, some of the decrease from last year to this year at the elementary school is in the pre-K and K grades, right? And that's because the state law for mandatory attendance at school begins with age 7. And so parents have a choice as to whether or not they're going to send their children when they're very young. And you could see the difference from pre-K last year to kindergarten this year. There was 61 students and now there's only 46. And part of that is parents opting not to send their children to school during COVID.
I know several families in town that have opted, that have young children, that just opted not to get started.
Yeah.
Danelle? Oh, 1 second, Cheryl. Danelle, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, like you said, every person has a story. I can give you an example of one family that was enrolled. 2 of them are at the elementary school, and they decided to homeschool so they could give a space to somebody else. There would be more room for people to move around. And they told me that when we go back to full, we'll send our kids back. Another example, I used to homeschool, and I've thought many times during the last 6 months, wow, it might have been easier if I went back to homeschool, because there's so many different things to get used to, and if I were just doing it all myself, I could just keep my ducks in the nest and work with them directly, rather than, you know, managing all the different schools. So there's a lot of different reasons. I would like to see actually a report from the state about those numbers and those kinds of stories, because I don't think it's anything personal to Lebanon.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think so either. It's happening when I meet with other superintendents. It's happening in multiple districts.
All right, moving on to class size report. Oh, sorry, Cheryl.
I'm just going to add, on a positive note, at Lyman, for the last 4 years, we've had an average caseload size of 10 for a special education teacher. This year's freshman class, we have 22. So half of those students are from sending districts, either through the tuition agreement or going into the ASPEN program. So there's a positive there.
Thanks. Okay, class size report.
So this is the second year that we've provided this report for the board. Initially, it was requested by the board because we had started to reduce staffing due to declining enrollment or changes in enrollment. And so the board really wanted to see, you know, what the class sizes were actually like in the building. So last year we provided the class size report for the first time. So this is the second year for the class size report. As has been reported at other various meetings, the class sizes at the elementary school are in the mid to upper teens for the most part, but we do see some classes in grade 3 at the 20 or 21 mark and one in grade 2. Right? And so those numbers, similar to the enrollment report, also include the kids that are in distance learning. So we don't always have that a number of kids in the classroom right now during COVID-19.
At grade 3 also in LES, you have 21.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah, and you do have them all in the class. They
That-
are all
yeah.
in physically in that class.
That's because
21.
one teacher is distance learning, yeah.
But that teacher is not only distance learning. She
Right.
has
She has
students
live students
and,
as well.
yes.
Mhm.
So 21 and 20 in third grade is happening.
Yes.
Yes.
But, so that's different than what you just said. I want to clarify that. There are 20 and 21 students in classrooms at the elementary school currently.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, unless, well, some children are in and out for distance learning, and those children remain on,
So let me clarify. In grade 3, Jan Gervais has 20 students. However, half of them, approximately, are distance learners, and the other half are in the classroom, which then means unless you have more than one distance learner teacher in third grade, Mr. Ladegard and Ms. Pistol are teaching 20 and 21 students in the classroom at the moment.
That is true.
yeah, that is true, they could all be there.
So I just want to clarify because that's different than what you just said. There are 20 and 21 students in a classroom at a time at the moment.
Right.
Yes.
Unless you have a child that goes out on distance learning.
For medical, like absences due to medical things?
Yeah, it could
Yeah,
be
so there's
for
like
that.
1 or 2 days, yeah.
Or sometimes
Or
a
a week
little
or
bit
s-
longer.
yeah.
But in general. Okay.
In
Like
general, they
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 are at
there.
20 and
Yeah.
21.
So those are the highest classes at LES, is third grade. The rest of them are somewhat manageable, except for that grade 2 one. Which one is in grade?
Ms. Provost is the DL teacher. She's
Oh, okay.
4 in person.
So it's grade 3 then.
No, she's got about half, right? No, she's 4.
4,
in
yeah.
class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it looks like at the middle school you have 23, 24 in 5th and 6th grade.
Yes. So the class sizes at the middle school are the largest in grades 5 and grade 6, and that is due to a reduction in the teaching staff, right, pre-COVID, when we were adjusting for enrollment numbers at the middle school, right? We decided not to do that for this year. We would have had, without COVID-19, we would have had that reduction into 7th grade for the current year, but we decided not to do that. That's why you see the smaller numbers in 7th grade, except for in science, where there was a reduction in the science teacher position with the scheduling change that was made, right?
Is there any way to know how many of these kids are distance learners? Because is it really 24 kids in a class?
So, no. Rob, what's the largest that you actually have in?
We have 20 and 21.
Yeah.
When I counted last week.
That's your highest class size, 20 and 21?
Well, no, I'm saying for 5th and 6th grade.
Yep.
You know, the 7th and 8th, it varies by the period quite a bit.
So we have just about 80% of the students are in-school instruction. So most of the kids do come to school. Right, and then again at the 8th grade, you see the smaller class sizes there in the mid to upper teens. On the next page, you see PE and then some of the specials. PE class sizes are similar to the academic class sizes, but you do see that some of the other courses, computers, art, tech ed, music, well, music is different, right, because of pull-out lessons, so the numbers vary. But for tech ed, art, and computers, you can see that the numbers are in the single digits to the low double digits, 10 to 12.
John has a question?
Yeah, Bob, in 5th and 6th grade, those numbers are pretty high. Are we having any difficulty with social distancing?
So in fifth and, well, at the middle school in general, we cannot hit 6 feet, right? And so Rob worked with his custodians to get seating spaced out at 4 feet, right? With the kids back in the classrooms, unfortunately, kids don't sit still, right? So they scooch around and their chairs move, and sometimes they encroach on each other. And so Rob is looking at perhaps using this space as a teaching space or the gymnasium for some of his bigger classes.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that, especially with the colder weather coming, kids are bringing more gear with them, and the space is going to shrink somehow. So that would be my concern going forward.
Yeah, and also eating in the eating without their masks on within 3 to 6 feet. So my understanding is they're supposed to be 3 to 6 feet with masks on, and then once you take them off, there have to be other precautions. So even further or outdoors. Is that correct?
So not for lunch eating. That has not been made a requirement. When the students are eating, they can take their masks off, and then when they're done eating and they're talking, then they have to put their mask back on.
Even within 3 to 6 feet. So I could be here with you, take my mask off if I'm eating.
So we're to maximize social distancing, right? And so we can't get 6 feet in our buildings for that purpose, right? That is something that I've been clear about since the beginning. We cannot get to 6 feet in those circumstances.
And do we have plexiglass dividers in those circumstances?
Each of the schools purchased, or Kevin French purchased barriers. And so we do have the barriers available.
But not for every student?
Not for every student, no.
Nicole?
2 questions. One, if you repurpose the gym to put classes in there, where would PE go?
So PE, we would have to either be taking kids outside more often or doing other activities in the school for PE.
Right, but when it snows, it's probably not a good idea to put PE out there, right?
It makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second question is, are there empty classrooms in this school?
In this one?
Yes.
I don't think they're empty every period of the day. I think they've
No,
all been
like-
repurposed. Is that correct?
There is none that are empty.
Right, so they're being used by like interventionists and people like that, correct? All the classrooms are being used?
Every single classroom is used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would never be able to hit 6 feet. Our classrooms are way too small.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
All right, we've been reassessing the furniture that's in all the classrooms, and so, some furniture that make teaching easier, like bookcases and things like that, we're reassessing whether or not they need to be in the classrooms. And so we're pulling additional furniture out of rooms just to make additional space in the classrooms.
Well, where I was going with that question is, would it be better if we hired a couple more teachers? Would that alleviate the load here a little bit?
It's the space. So when you're in hybrid, right, you're going to be able to social distance.
Right.
The minute we went full, it's not teachers that are, at least I don't have really space to put it, right? And having taught for 14 years, could I move that 21 class to the cafeteria and take away that space, which is right now being used for additional mask breaks? Today's a perfect example of that, right? We could use the tents, but it was rough. Classes were either running or choosing not to and had to use the cafeteria or the gym when there wasn't PE, because PE couldn't go outside for rain. So to speak for my building, it's not teachers. I don't have another room to put them, and I don't feel it is good teaching for me to put a third grade
So your best bet is
So
just
for my
removing
building,
furniture.
It's not potties I need. The only way that we could prevent that is to go back to hybrid. I can't, that's only my
You
building.
know, it's the same
I
thing
don't know.
here. I mean, if you come here any day from 7 o'clock in the morning until 1, there's a lot of noise generated here in the kitchen. So to try to have classes in here, although it's a nice big space, the acoustics are horrible because of all the noise going on in the kitchen. And in the gym, if we use the gym, then we've created a mess for the PE.
Right.
So, you know, it's a decision you have to really, really think if you want to go down that road, because you're knowingly putting kids in really an environment that's not very conducive to their learning. And then again, 5th grade, it's not just one class; it's all 3 are full and small. So then, if I put 2 classes here side by side, oh my God, the distraction of hearing math while you're supposed to be watching, you know, social studies is difficult because, I mean, they're 10 years old. You know, they're young kids. And so,
Right, but what is our goal for right now? Our goal right now is to keep them safe. Like, that's the most important thing. So I understand that the acoustics are not ideal, but bottom line is if they're too close to each other, we are putting them at risk. So I feel like we need to start thinking about, no, I know it's not ideal, but we have to make some decisions that are, as we have been doing, are difficult.
Right,
So
but Sarah, I'll have no location for mass breaks.
I understand that.
Here, I mean, I'm just saying, if I move Jay's classroom, for example, I don't know where I would allow my students to have mass breaks safely.
well, the problem all along has been, do you want to listen to the CDC or the state reopening plan? The state reopening plan doesn't have any distance requirement. It's when feasible. But yet people want to go by the CDC guidance of 6 feet. And so you can't have it both ways. The state cloud plan does not follow CDC guidance. Because the state knows there's schools in 169 towns in the state that aren't big enough to house kids at 6-foot distance.
We simply don't have the space.
But so if you remove all the furniture, though, you're getting pretty close, though, right?
Not for the whole building. If you're saying you want 6 feet for everyone, then you need to go back to higher.
That's not what I'm saying.
But even in hybrid, we
All right,
weren't
we're
at
gonna
6
take one
feet
last-
everywhere.
We're going to take one last comment. Go ahead, Dawn.
I don't want to continue to go down this rabbit hole, because clearly, but can you remind me what the benchmarks were that we were supposed to meet in order to go forward with? Because I think maybe I'm remembering them a little bit differently. So what were our benchmarks so that we could open 100% back for whichever families chose to do
So
that?
it really had to do with the number of cases per 100,000 based on the county count, not a local count, right? Although we're making decisions based on local numbers, right? And we're not the only district that's going to be doing that. So as long as the count stayed below, I think it was like 2% for the county, then you could be all in, right? And so the state had wanted every single district in the state to open with in-school instruction. That was the mandate, pretty much, that we were given early on. Districts started pushing back against that due to local concerns, and then the governor switched gears and said, okay, so we're going to relinquish some more self-determination to the local districts, except the governor said you can't open in distance learning. For that, you would need a panel to review your plan and your rationale, and then they would kind of grant you approval. So when the governor allowed the districts to have more local control, a whole bunch of them switched, as we did, from in-school opening to a hybrid, right? And did so with the idea that that would be a temporary plan, see how, phase it in, see how things go, and then if things were going okay, then bring all the kids back. So we ended up bringing all the children back on October 5th, right? So the board made a decision prior to the opening of school to extend summer break till past Labor Day, right? And then had shortened the amount of time that our plan had for us to be a partial day in hybrid, right, from 2 weeks to 1. And then told me if I could bring all the kids back safely for September 28th, right, to do so, but otherwise, stick to the plan of October 5th. And so the COVID numbers in the county, but even locally, are ticking up, but they haven't hit that threshold where coming back to in-school was deemed unsafe, right? And so I've been in communication with the executive director at Uncas Health, Patrick McCormick, every step of the way. And Uncas Health has not issued the kind of blanket statement that we've seen from Ledgellite Health District down along the shoreline, where that health district came out and said districts that are in hybrid should stay in hybrid. Uncas Health has not said that because the numbers don't support it, right? But we're all concerned that the numbers are ticking up in the region, right? Wyndham, Norwich are close to us. Colchester is close to us. They've all seen numbers tick up. Our own numbers in Lebanon, pre-opening school, we're at 27, now we're at 48, right? And so they're ticking up even within town. But they haven't hit a threshold where the advice has been to change the model, right? We have been fortunate that we haven't had any COVID-19 cases in school, right? We've had them occur, but none have occurred in school. And this is kind of diverging a little bit away from the class size report, but it's important, right? And every time I'm on a meeting with health officials, be they local health officials or the Department of Public Health, the report is always that there have been very few cases of COVID-19 being spread within a school, right? COVID-19 doesn't pre-exist in schools. Somebody has to bring it into the school, and then it can be transmitted within the school if somebody brings it in. But there have been very few cases. Patrick McCormick at Uncas Health, the last time I talked to him, and it could have changed by now, but I talked to him last week, has reported that he is not aware of any cases in his region where COVID-19 has been transmitted in a school. I read in the Hartford Courant this morning that there was one incident in all of Hartford public schools, and they've been in-person teaching, right? Of the schools that have had to close either for 1 or 2 days or longer, some of them have been in hybrid and some of them have been in distance learning. There has really been no connection between which model is safer, right? Because the COVID is normally happening outside of school, and people are catching it in their personal lives, not in their school life. That's not to say it can't happen, right? Which is why we take all the precautions. We do try to maximize social distancing where possible. We do have plastic barriers available for use, and they are in position in certain parts of the schools. It's why we got the MERV 13 filters, right? That's not a requirement. That's above and beyond what the requirement is. That's why we purchased some air filtering machines to put in some smaller spaces in our buildings where there was no ventilation system. That's not required. That's above and beyond the requirements. So we have been taking extra precautions. Has everything been perfect? No, it hasn't been perfect, right? Because we're people, and I have yet to meet a perfect one, right? So we're not, right? It's just the way it is. So it hasn't been perfect. And have we been lucky? I don't know, maybe we have been lucky, but I also think that we in Lebanon have been overly cautious to the point where we have been able to improve our ability to mitigate the spread of COVID. I really do think we have taken a significant amount of precautions, right? Later on in the superintendent's report, we're going to talk about athletics, right? And part of the precautions is we limit the number of spectators that we allow to come to events. Could we have more? Maybe, but there's reasons why we don't, right? You know, it's but the spacing, right? We are not going to hit 6 feet, and I have been clear about that from the get-go. Even in hybrid, we don't hit 6 feet in all of our schools.
I don't think anybody's anticipating 6 feet, but
Yeah.
it's just 3. I mean, I just hope that Patrick is aware that we have class sizes of 26 and 23 and 24 in the size classrooms that we actually have. So that's just important information for him to know.
Yeah, I talked to him about our conditions.
Okay. All right, let's move on to number 4, curriculum director vacancy.
Okay, so with the curriculum director vacancy, we've been interviewing candidates since the summer. We went back out and decided a candidate who had been interviewed earlier deserved a second round interview. So we had 2 potential finalists. Today I learned that one of them has removed themselves from the search, and so now we have 1. And so I'll be considering whether or not to bring additional candidates in, repost, or have another conversation with the remaining finalists. And so that process is still in the works. Okay?
Can I ask a question? Is it possible to have a third discussion about this? Like, is it possible to rework this somehow?
You mean the money?
No, rather than one curriculum director, can we do something different? Would we be open to talk about that, or is this a done deal? We're hiring
Well, so
one?
I've been asked to consider that a few times over the past several years, right? Mm-hmm. Mostly in a way to make a budget reduction, right? Cut that position and create stipends or some other mechanism to handle the curriculum work. I will say that because we are a pre-K to 12 program, despite that we're just 3 schools and under 1,000 students, the breadth and depth of our curriculum is such that I think it's important that we have a person to take point. If we needed additional supports to be quicker or more efficient in change, there could be curriculum support positions created, but that adds expense. It doesn't take away expense.
The reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like with our former curriculum director, she was very schooled in some areas of the curriculum, and then there were others that not so much. So I was wondering, would it be more efficient to have one station at each of the 3 schools? They would know their craft and curriculum like in depth, and then have them meet and align everything, once a week or bi-weekly. Then they can really align everything between the teachers. Would that be possible?
I think it's a way to reorganize the curriculum work, but it wouldn't be a way to direct the curriculum work across the district.
Okay.
Bob, could you give us the top 4 or 5 responsibilities of the curriculum director and who is covering those things right now?
So the curriculum director oversees the revision of existing curriculum. The curriculum director also facilitates any new curriculum added, right? So works with teachers and administrators on both of those things. The curriculum director in this district also oversees professional development, oversees the evaluation program, manages several grants, title grants, school readiness grant. As part of the curriculum director work, the curriculum director would also oversee student assessments in the district, would also, well, that's more than 4 or 5 right there. Right? It's a big job. So right now, I'm doing that, and some of the administrators have also picked up some of the pieces.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to athletics.
So Scott Elliott, our athletic director, couldn't be here. So he did send me something just to provide an update where we are with athletics. So our JV and varsity boys and girls soccer programs are underway, right? There will be no state tournaments. The league has kind of put teams in regional bubbles, and so we don't necessarily play the full schedule like we have in the past. A good number of schools have had to cancel games as they're in and out of distance learning and in-school learning. So that has created some scheduling issues, especially trying to reschedule games. The same has happened with varsity and JV girls volleyball is also up and running, so to speak. But there have been several games that had to be rescheduled multiple times due to school cancellations. And so That's an ongoing issue. Boys and girls cross country is up and running. I believe we had our first home meet last week, yeah?
On Friday.
Yeah. And so those are up and running. Football right now is not playing any games. Each of the schools that sends students, we're a part of a co-op program in football, are maintaining some sort of a conditioning program for the football players, but we're not involved in any football games or practices with ours. And we have one student swimming on the girls' swim team. We don't have our own pool. When we used to be co-op with Wyndham, we were using Wyndham's pool. But now that we only have one student that's interested in swimming, we have her swimming as a team of one, but she swims with the Fitch high school swim team, right? And so that's how we're able to provide a program for her. There's the athletes, before they practice each day, they go through a health screening to make sure everybody is healthy and able to play. The league will try to run some sort of tournament experience, but it won't be like an ECC tournament because we're only play the teams that are in our bubbles. And there will be no, awards this year for student recognition. So there'll be no ECC, student athlete of the year or any of that stuff. We did start the fall season without an athletic trainer. That becomes problematic when you have students that are practicing and then playing in games. Students can become injured. In the past, we have contracted through the bidding process with orthopedic partners. Orthopedic had let us know late in the spring and in the early summer that they may not be able to provide us a trainer this year. And then at the end of the summer, they told us they were not going to be able to provide a trainer. We contacted two other companies that provide athletic trainers, Select Physical Therapy and Integrated Rehabilitation Services. They were unable to meet our needs. The athletic trainer that we had through Orthopedic Partners started her own company. She's the only company that provided us a quote when we saw quotes for services, and so we ended up hiring her for the current school year, and then we plan to go out to bid later in the school year for next school year to see if things have changed. So with our athletic programs, one of the issues that we have faced is having enough adults present to work the games. So it was very difficult to get an athletic trainer. It has been very difficult to hire coaches, in particular at the middle school, and it's been very difficult to hire adults to work the games like we normally do, right? So generally we have staff members that work our athletic events, and they just have not been available this year to do those kinds of things. That's one of the reasons why it could be difficult for us to increase our spectator capacity at games if we don't have people to work the games. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at now. So recently, the state of Connecticut went to phase 3 reopening, which increases the number of people that can attend outdoor events as well as the number of people that could attend indoor events. But we would still need to have people to work those events in order to have spectators there. And so that's a problem that we haven't yet been able to solve adequately. So we're working on that.
Does there have to be a paid person working those events, or can it be voluntary?
So we have in the past done it through providing a stipend to staff members. If we're not able to do it that way, we would look at other options.
I can probably give you about 45 parents that would volunteer to do that job.
That's true.
So, yes. So we would, we are looking at different avenues. Okay?
Janelle?
The line is on?
What?
The line is on or off?
Yes.
This has been a very frustrating area for me. There are 13 people watching a soccer game when we have a capacity for a lot more than that. But they have made it very difficult for us to go. I know that one of our board members' spouses wasn't able to go in because they didn't fill out the doc 24 hours in advance. The criteria to go watch our kid play is ridiculous. I'll just say it like that. And it's not just Lebanon, but Lebanon's, the things that we've put in place are unbelievable. It's too much. These kids, yes, they have to fill out a document before they go to practice, and that's after they're already in school. They have to fill out the doc again. If they're in school already, they should be cleared to play. So this is very frustrating for me. I know we're in quarantine, but if they're playing, if they're in school, they're clear to play. Why do they have to fill out another document? 13 people watching a JV game on a nice Saturday afternoon. 26 people watching one varsity game we've had home so far. There's streaming available at other schools, but honestly, we watched one, and the goals were not in the camera from the other school. And you have to pay to get that streaming in. I think it's $11 a month, so it's not much. But you're watching ants on a screen, and there's no goals. And you don't even know if they scored a goal yet. So this is extremely frustrating for me because I have a child in athletics. I'm not the only one. I just think look at the stands. It's unbelievable. And it's not just a Lebanon decision, like I said. The ECC has decided to limit spectators, so it's a frustration everywhere. Volleyball, they can't even go in the gym. Nobody can go in there except the people playing and the coaches. So I imagine they're even more frustrated than I am because at least I get to go in person when I sign up. But I do know that with limits rising, capacities rising, volleyball could send people one at a time if they need to be. And again, there is plenty of room in our stands for more spectators to be allowed to go. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Nicole?
So the volleyball season has already begun, correct?
Yes.
And then when does it end?
Ends in November.
Beginning of November.
Yeah.
Second, third week of
It's an abbreviated season.
So we have like just 3 weeks left, right?
About, yeah.
Well, now that we're in phase 3, is it possible to have these parents watch their kids play for the last 3 weeks?
So, yes, we're looking at our ability to do that.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, like Sarah said, if you get parents to, I'm sure lots of parents would volunteer to watch their kids play. I would volunteer to watch the soccer games too.
The gate used to be staffed by the booster club also. That was not a paid position. I think the paid positions are the field monitor, like the crowd control, which we don't have to deal with anymore. The buzzer, whistleblower, whatever you call them, those were paid positions. But the gate, where we collected money, which we're not collecting money anymore, so I won't complain about that, those were staffed by volunteers from the booster club.
Yes.
But I was told that they're not going to ask them to do that this year, which I'm like, I'm sure we'd be glad to do that, especially if it allows more of two of us to go.
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts on this topic, but I'm going to keep them quiet for the moment.
You just have to, like, we're trying to provide the opportunity, the more people we introduce to school, right, that it just increases risk, that's all, right? And so we're trying to balance those things. And it's not an easy balance.
Yep.
I don't hold frustration about this because I'm not there yet. I imagine once I get there, I would be extremely frustrated. I think sometimes the rationale that we give just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like what was just said, we're trying not to introduce people to the school. Well, they're in the same family. It's already been introduced to the school. So that doesn't make a lot of sense in my head. And then, and again, I haven't been following as closely to this as I should, but we just sat a half hour ago talking about having 21 students in a classroom, but we're worried about same family members being distanced outside in the stands. See, the rationale just, in my mind, if I'm getting more frustrated, and I'm not even that parent, so like I can see why people are extremely frustrated. So I think we just need to work on our rationale and our explanation of why we're truly not doing it right now. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, anything else on athletics?
I think we said it all.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay, 7th grade science.
So, as you know, that position was reduced to a part-time position. We have been able to fill it with a teacher. I've been in conversation with Mr. Laskazewski about potentially making that, asking the board to make that a full-time position. But we were looking at ways to support students through COVID-19. That wouldn't necessarily be creating additional sections of science, but it could be as a academic interventionist, as something like that, or perhaps a way to kickstart the use of the greenhouse and have that person assigned roles and responsibilities with the greenhouse. And so we're looking at some options there, but I don't have a recommendation to put before the board at this time, but we are exploring options for that position.
Questions or comments on this? Nicole?
So making that position full-time is on the table still?
Yes, and, but so it's there because of the unique circumstances that we're in right now.
But for the future, I mean, like what your idea about having that person be in charge of the greenhouse,
Yeah,
that would
so
be for years to come.
If that were to be the reason why we needed the position and that were to continue after COVID-19, then yes, I would like to keep it full-time if that's the way we go.
I don't disagree with that decision, but I do want to make the point that we just said not long ago that it wasn't the teachers that we need, it's the space.
Right.
Well, the greenhouse is empty.
Well, which is why I'm saying that it's not necessarily about adding additional sections of science. It would be either to support the students with academic supports, which is something that we're able to do during COVID-19. Any certified teacher can provide academic supports now, right? That's a special thing that was put in place due to COVID-19. And so if that need is there, that position could be expanded to include that type of responsibility. But we also have had a greenhouse sitting somewhat fallow due to COVID-19. And if there's a way to re-engage with the greenhouse, then we'd also like to be able to do that.
not only during COVID, Bob, but like, I mean, this is a perfect liaison to the ASTE program at the high school. You know, you started in 7th grade, and then, you know, it's like a nice little connector. So
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Okay, I think you had some additions to the agenda under your report.
I did. So at your places when you came in, you found a hard copy. I had emailed a digital copy to you earlier this afternoon. Some information regarding E-rate, right? And so at one of the meetings, or probably I think at a couple of different meetings, we had talked about as we go through teaching during COVID-19, we could realize that there is going to be a need to strengthen our infrastructure, right? And I had mentioned at one meeting specifically that we were going to be using E-rate funding to help support that effort. And so Jacques and Bob, during the spring, anticipating this need, had applied through the E-rate for additional funding. And so what E-rate essentially does is doubles our capacity to purchase technology. So the district has to use some of its own money, but then E-rate funds the project at a 60% rate, right? And so we're essentially doubling our ability to purchase. When you apply for the grant through E-rate, they do the bidding for you. You tell them what you want, they go out to bid, and then supply us the bids, and then we get to select the bids. And so what you see before you are bids that we received on replacing, and I don't know all the technology, but there's switches and modules, and Jacques and Bob, Jacques will be able to talk to you about the tech specifically. So we actually bid out two separate projects. One is a Wi-Fi server, which we've already awarded that bid because it's below the threshold that it needed board approval. It was like $8,000, and so we're already moving forward with that. But this project is above the threshold for superintendent approval, and so it does require board approval. And so you have the bid documents here. It is what we're asking is when we get to action items that the board add this as an action item to tonight's agenda, and if the board approves the purchase, then we can go ahead and make the purchase and then move forward quickly with this project. If you have tech questions for Jacques and/or funding questions, Bob and Jacques are here.
Sure. Matt?
Yeah, so he said 60%. So I just want to clarify, if we spend 40 cents, we get 60 cents, or we spend 60 cents to get 40 cents?
We spend 40 cents. They spend, the federal government pays 60.
Okay, and why I see that there's 4 bids here, but it seems like there's only one quote. Things don't line up here. I'm confused.
What do you mean one quote?
That's the one.
Oh, that was the one that we had chosen. That was showing the exact cost of our amount shows the exact cost, but the bid was for $115, and then our cost, I believe, on there is it $50,000 on that?
Yes.
Right.
So
then
that's
we're
just
spending
showing you.
50,000, yet the extended price is what ultimately gets paid for the E-Tech?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Minus, I mean, they don't count like next business day exchanges, stuff like the warranties. That's not considered anywhere. But just going a little further above that. I mean, most of the IT issues that you did bring up earlier were because of internet speeds. And
mean, we're on an old infrastructure, which is very limited to, it's basically limited to 100 megabytes, and we have 1,000 megabytes, or a gig, they call it gigabyte, but I'm trying to make it smooth. We purchased from CEN, we have 1,000 gigabyte. Unfortunately, all our switches are only rated for 100. So in order for someone at the high school to use that CEN connection, they can only use it at that 100. So which that 100 may be 3 of these Wi-Fi access points. So now they're using only 30, 30, and 30. Because these switches are so old, they're still on that 100. All the new switches are all gigabyte switches. So they're going to be using 1,000, and then they're going to use the 1,000 going out. So now if you're using 3 switches, you're talking about 333 megabytes apiece. So, I mean, the easy part is to call CEN and say, hey, I want a 2 gig connection. But that's not going to help you if you can't get there at that speed, at that 1,000 speed. I mean, these switches are from 1995, some of them, 1998, which is unbelievable that they're still around and kicking. I've been replacing them just as they die out, but the need is there to, especially now with these times, the need is there to upgrade this infrastructure. Yep.
So if we upgrade to this 1 gigabyte system,
yep.
Some of the problems out there, not necessarily here, but I'm just saying out there in the community, is so if we get this 1,000 gigabytes, or 1 gigabyte system, is it going to be able to get out at 1 gigabyte? Is there enough capacity out there for us to be able to put it out at that rate?
From the school, yes. I'm not saying from kids' houses.
No. I'm saying out.
No,
I mean, the cables coming in can handle the load.
They're all fiber
because
optics.
there's so many people that are experiencing difficulties that never experienced it before because of the overload of the system.
But we're
kind of
lucky
like
not.
traffic jams.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
but they're all fiber optics. They can handle a lot more than 1,000.
Okay, that's
which
what I
is
was
great.
asking.
I mean, I've actually connected directly. I can connect my laptop directly to the switch, the last switch, and get 700 to 800 megabyte speeds. But if I'm in my office, same laptop, same thing, I can only get 70, 80, which is great, 70, 80 when there's no kids there. But when you put 70, 80 when there's 60 kids around me, now I'm down at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, depending on the amount of traffic going through. And with the streaming, it's taking a lot more traffic.
This is going to affect all 3 schools, Jeff?
This would do there's 13 closets total between all the schools. I think I don't know the exact count, but there's 4 here, 5 at the high school and 4 at the elementary school. That's redoing all the closets, all the routers.
And how long would it take to do all of this?
Believe it or not, it's a couple. If we had, once the equipment's here, they can do it in 2 weeks.
Great.
So the cabling we have is able to take it?
Cat 5, yeah, Cat 5 will take it, no problem. And
Okay.
the fiber optics cabling that we have from the high school to the middle school, from the elementary to it has no problem. It'll take way more than that because that's fiber optics.
So Jeff, if I'm understanding this correctly, this would alleviate a lot of the tech problems that all 3 schools have stated that they've had, right? Yes. And the money comes from the tech budget that we've already allocated that 90,000 to you. We're going to be using those funds to pay for the 40% that we would be responsible for?
Yes, that's how it went earlier when I mentioned we were trying to put 70 into the infrastructure.
Yeah.
That was for this plan.
Okay.
That's why I was.
It won't solve everything, right? There are still the AP devices, which are the Wi-Fi repeaters, for a better word.
Access points.
Access points, thank you, AP, that makes sense. And so we have those access points throughout the building. Some of them are aging out, and so eventually we're going to want to replace those as well.
So,
What this program does, the E-rate program, is basically expands the district's ability to spend capital on technology. E-rate is not something new, it's been around for a while. Years ago, their funding was geared towards telephone credits, then it went to wireless not to do this, the money goes away. And it's a fantastic way for a district to expand their ability to spend money on needed infrastructure improvements. Specifically, can only be used for switches, routers, and all sorts of technical infrastructure stuff that Doc knows everything about.
And it was brought into it by the
Yeah.
FCC, which makes the sense of all the telecommunications.
Matt?
So you have, I see that, I'm just trying to understand, it says the discount is $64,000?
Yes.
Okay, and then what is the total 50,000? Is that what we're spending?
That's what we're spending, yes.
So don't you have an additional $18,000 left in your budget after that based on the 20 that you already spent on the upgrades?
Well, I had 70 total after the 20. Well, I have actually 64 total after the 26 I spent.
You had a total of 90 and it spent 26, so we got 63 left.
There's 63 left in total.
So the reason I'm asking this is if I'm going to get 60 cents for every 40 cents I'm spending, what is going to happen to the other $15,000? What are you planning to do with that?
Oh, well, there was another project on the one he was talking about, the 8,000.
So there's eight grand for
So
the
that still
server.
leaves another $5,000, $6,000 left over.
But that's my whole 90,000 for the year.
For the whole year?
That's my whole 90. I got
replacement
other stuff to
costs
buy.
and problems.
Projectors.
Well, no, the only reason I'm asking is because he talks about the access points. I was wondering if
I'm
that
hoping
could
to
be
do that.
added in.
I'm actually hoping to do that next fiscal year when E-Rate's going to have another round. I'm
Okay.
hoping to put that on.
No, I was just asking.
No, it's a good question. It's a very good
I was
question.
trying to maximize our dollars.
No, I agree. It's a great program. I mean, to be able to do, 15,000 on 50,000 is a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
Thanks for looking into that. I don't know if that's something we do
And
every
I
year.
just because the way E-Rate works, we have to go. They do all the E-Rate company does everything for us. So it's not like we can do our usual bidding.
Specific government forms that need to be filled out.
And they take care of all
They,
that.
they do all that.
And you actually
don't have to do
you have to.
Well, Jacques has to do, we have to do the legwork and provide them the data on their forms. They manage the bid process.
I told them which switches we want, how many switches we needed from that point, and then they do the legwork of putting it out to bid on the E-Rate website. And I mean, some of these companies are like the last.
And then when it comes time to install, part of the cost is being installed, or do you have to install all of it?
No, this was them being installed. It was included in that 115.
I'm just, trying to figure out. this
No,
added
it's
cost.
built into the 115.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, we have more items in your report.
So I just have one more, and that is at your table also, when you came in, there was a copy of the superintendent goals for this year. I did a little bit of recycling of the goals from last year for the academics because the work there kind of got put on a side burner due to COVID-19. I'm hoping that this year we'll have somewhat of a return to some of the normal work that a school system does and address those issues in the academic area. And then a new goal would be to work with members of the administrative team to really provide some personalization for their professional learning this school year. It ties in well with the Board of Ed's goals for the year, but it also ties in nicely with the strategic plan as well.
Questions? No? Okay. Anything else in the report of the
No,
superintendent?
that would be plenty.
Okay, I do want to go back to Danelle. You had a question earlier and I cut you off. All right, moved on too fast.
It was about the science position. I was just looking at numbers. In 8th grade, there's 61 with 4 staff. In 7th grade, there's 68 with only 326 staff. Is that right? Remember? It looks like 8th grade has less kids but more teachers than 7th grade.
So that's a result of having a reduction in force moving through the grades from 5th grade to 8th. And so we have a smaller bubble of students that is working its way through the into and then through the middle school. And so originally we were reduced a staff member at 5th grade, then we did one at 6th grade, and then the plan would have been to have a reduction of an entire teaching position at the 7th grade. We decided not to do that, right? But instead reduce that science position to a part-time position. And then had we maintained that staff reduction through the grades, 8th grade would be getting a staff reduction for next year, but I don't know if that's what I'll be proposing moving forward. Depends on whether or not we feel like we're still going to be in COVID.
Yeah, I think part of this, when my older kids were here, there were 4 people on every team, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, at least 4, I should say, if you want to count foreign languages more. So, yes, we have been reducing 1 per year. It's like the writing's on the wall. Somebody's going to be cut, and you're wondering who it is. And I looked at some old notes this morning, and when we did our exit surveys for teachers, some of them commented that the writing was on the wall, that the numbers were declining, so they took a position somewhere else. And my concern is, with this idea that that's what we're going to be doing, we're going to have more teachers exiting because they can get a job somewhere else, where the numbers aren't declining so much. So I'd like to build it back up to 4, and that would help with the numbers in the classes. We had the classrooms at one time, and now they've been repurposed for other things. So we do have the classrooms. They're being used for something else right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would love to build it back up too. It comes down sometimes to the function of the budget, right? And so when the board makes a budget request of a few $100,000 and then is provided either through town meeting or as it was for this school year directly from the Board of Finance, a smaller budget increase, then something has to give. And so the reduction in force, while it wasn't made strictly on a budgetary basis, it was due to the enrollment numbers of students. It did create offsets to a budget.
I just like to spend money on staff more than things. That's my own.
Agreed.
I also had a question about the something or other.
E-rate.
Foreign language. When you talk about that stuff, it's a foreign language to me. I just wondered if the tower that is being put up, if that affects this stuff at all.
Cell phone
Verizon.
tower.
Cell phone
Just
tower.
cell phones? That's not internet at all? Okay.
That's the mobile connection. We're talking about Wi-Fi inside the building.
Different frequency.
And would we be needing this if we weren't using Chromebooks
Yes.
for every
We
student?
would definitely be needing an upgrade at some point. And Mr. Hinchley would know, when I first came in, I was telling him that it needed to, we needed to start looking into doing it. Unfortunately, we don't, we only get 90,000 a year, so this is the first time we've been actually able to think about doing it, especially with the E-rate 60/40.
Thank you. Okay, I think that concludes the report of the superintendent. We'll move on to the finance report, 2020-2021 budget. We just want to keep in mind the time is 9:47, and we do have a presenter here, so we do need to move through this very quickly.
All right, I'll be real quick and just deal with the highlights. One of the big impact items that would affect the 2021 budget would be the spending on coronavirus. Since the virus hit us, we spent $177,000 in round numbers. The state issued a grant to Lebanon and all districts. Our amount was $145,000. We document and highlights the 4 areas. That $145,000 will be huge for us because that will allow us to offset finalized yet, but it appears that the Title I grant will be increased to us by $55,000. So that will also help to offset expenses in the current budget year. So that's good financial news.
Any questions? No? Thank you.
That took care of 1 and 2.
1 and 2, good.
What about 3?
In number 3, I'm wondering if, is Carlos available to talk to this, or?
Well, Carlos isn't here, but I can speak to the food service.
Okay. All right, we're just going to try to make it quick.
Super quick, because everything's on your handout.
Right,
we
thank
met
you.
with the regional vice president and Carlos, and we wanted board to recognize the safety aspect that and things that Chartwell does to ensure not only food safety but the safety of the staff in terms of COVID. So all that stuff is in your handout, and I won't go over it, but they have a very detailed program regarding safety of the employees. And everything, I guess, is self-explanatory on the food service financial piece. We made money last year, and it's primarily increase in financial performance was due to all of our meals being reimbursable. So any additional funds that continues this year will be used to enhance the food service program. We're off to a decent start this year. We haven't lost $5,000, but it's half of what we did for last year. And the last point I'd like to make, now that we've returned to full in-house learning, the number of meals hasn't quite doubled, but if I looked at Monday and Tuesday this past week compared to Monday and Tuesday of the previous week in hybrid, so 513 breakfast and lunch versus 344 on Monday, and we did 547 on Tuesday versus 358. So things should improve, and I'll end at that in essence time unless you have questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Does anybody have any pressing questions to ask right now about Chartwell? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. We have a presentation to discuss district lighting. Nicole, would you like to begin the conversation?
Sure.
And Adam, if you could just sit at the table with the microphone.
Yep. So basically, in having a discussion with the facilities director for the town, Jason Noasad, he told me about this project was mentioned before in the past, but for some reason the board decided to do something else with their money. And then Jason did tell me that right now there are a bunch of rebates from the state of Connecticut to have lighting projects done in, I guess, schools, but they have to be used up before December. So I decided to ask Bob to bring Adam here so we can hear it like from the horse's mouth, like what exactly can we look forward to?
Sure. I'll keep it very quick. I know it's late. So the lighting rebates from Eversource are particularly good right now, and that's driven almost exclusively by the fact that nobody's really been doing projects over the last eight months or so. Eversource has to get rid of a certain amount of money every year. So when they fail to do that, and they're very, very short so far, what they do is increase the incentives to the projects that are getting done. So what we've seen is, and you know, every project's a little different because there's certain aspects to it that might increase the incentive, you know, but up to 70, 80% of the project costs. And also you have the ability to do long-term financing on the Eversource bill. So it'd be, you know, no out-of-pocket expense for the school district, hopefully just savings right off the bat. Our Tightness process is, you know, pretty straightforward. What we do is we act as the GC for the project. So we come in, we do the audits, so count every light, every fixture, inside, outside. We do more than just lighting, but I think, you know, the focus, at least for now, on the lighting piece. When we have the audit, we'll sit down with you folks and kind of go over what we found. And then typically what we do is we'll get 3 quotes from electricians to come in and do the install, 3 quotes for equipment. Factor that into the financial model. We'll manage the process with Eversource in terms of the financing, and like I said, oversee the actual project implementation. And you know, you're operating on a little bit of a tight timeline because it is, you know, already October, but you know, we're very good at getting in and out of schools. We do it often. You understand the CDC guidelines, and PPE is, fundamental right now, doing work in schools and stuff.
So if the work was started, like, let's say the work was started like early December, but not finished until 2021, would we still qualify for the rebates?
Yes, but Eversource is actually a little bit flexible at times on certain things, especially we're finding this year that they're being more flexible than they have in terms of timing, because this year has just been kind of crazy. So ideally, I think a timeline that would be good to kind of think about if you want to try to get something done at the schools over the next couple of months. Try to get the audit done as soon as possible. It's really the first step. Kind of see the general scope of what we're dealing with, what the upgrade package might look like, get quotes from vendors, electricians, and the equipment itself, put that together so whoever on the board needed to see it could have a look at it and understand what the financial implications are. And really from there, it's just a question of getting the paperwork situated with Eversource, which we would handle, get it submitted. They would come out, do a pre-inspection, to make sure that our audit is accurate and all that good stuff. And that can be done in about 6 weeks, if we really kind of put the pedal to the metal, and it's something that you might want to do.
So 6 weeks for the audit only, or?
When we get the audit going. So, it's kind of tight, but it could be done before the end of the year.
Okay.
If everybody's kind of pointed in the right, towards the same goal. And, I think what makes these projects, palatable for school districts, especially now, is, capital's tight. So if you can have on-bill financing with Eversource, they basically, the money that everybody pays into via their Eversource bill, schools pay it, residents pay it, everybody, it goes into the conservation and load management fund. And that money is used to help buy down interest rates on, the long-term financing on bills. So when they say it's 0%, it actually is pretty close to 0% financing. It's just another incentive mechanism.
So Adam, what's the benefit of going from fluorescent to LED?
Oh, just really, really significant kilowatt-hour savings.
Okay.
So as part of the process, it's pretty simple math on our end. We know what's here, or we'll figure out what's here. It has a certain wattage. We know that with schools, traditionally, certain lights are on, Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 5:30 and stuff. So it's really just a math calculation of figuring out you're going from a certain wattage to a lower wattage. Newer fixtures, they'll have a 10-year warranty, so you won't have to touch them or think about them for 10 years. Better lighting. There is disinfectant lighting that it uses UVC rays. Probably doesn't mean much to anybody here, but it doesn't really mean much to me either. But we've been installing that in restrooms and things like that. So just some areas of the school where they tend to be high traffic. Just a little bit of added sense of security. But really, what you're looking at is LED, going to a low wattage and just trimming your Eversource bills.
Like that.
Yep.
So looking at the timeline, if we said go ahead and do the audit, 6 weeks you're done.
Oh, we can get the audit done much sooner than 6 weeks. I'm just,
Okay, that's what
I'm just saying from the process standpoint of, we do the audits, and obviously we need to work within the schedule that makes sense for everybody, sensitive time. And getting our arms wrapped around what's here, taking that inventory, getting out the installation and the equipment costs, and getting a report together that says, okay, here's what we've got, here's what it's going to cost. And how do you want to go about doing it? Do you want to do some, all, none? You're within your rights to do that. And we do the audit and all that prep work at our cost. So at the end of the day, if the audit results came back and it wasn't particularly interesting, or you couldn't meet the timeline, then that's a risk we take.
So would you be able to have all this information by the next board meeting, which is 4 weeks?
1 month from today.
1 month from today?
I could try my very best. I mean, if it's basically we're trying to rally as many resources as we can, because it is getting to the end of the year, and 2021 from Eversource's perspective, I mean, we're seeing increased activity. People kind of getting on the bandwagon of recognizing, like, oh wow, Eversource is really giving away money here, kind of an unprecedented amount. So we're seeing more projects get done, but there's still kind of a paralysis, I think. So there is a possibility that maybe some of this could spill over into 2021, but what happens is at the start of the year, Eversource has 12 months to figure out what to do. So they're less anxious about how they distribute those funds. When it starts to become June, July, August, into November, that's when they start getting nervous and upping the incentives. So your timing is good.
So
And,
you said June, July of, are you talking about 2021?
I'm talking about
or
2021
this
now.
past one?
So let's say, for instance, for whatever reason, nothing happened, and you're thinking, okay, let's just focus on this in 2021. My only point is that, from Eversource's perspective, once January 1st comes around, it all starts over for them. So they're a lot less nervous about being able to meet their yearly goal on January 1st than they are on October 13th of any given year.
Okay.
And this year being kind of an exception is a good thing. So, and lighting is typically, even when it's incentivized at its normal amount, is cash flow positive right out of the gate if they're using the on-bill financing. So if you increase the incentive even more, and we actually had a lot of luck recently working with West Haven, their public schools. They have 6 schools that we're looking at, and UI, granted it's UI, not Eversource, but UI actually extended out that financing term to 6 years to help their cash flow on the project. So we're seeing things that the utilities are doing that aren't super common that they've done in other years. So, Lebanon being, I'm familiar with the schools. We have all the utility bills. I mean, we can get things rolling pretty quickly to do the audit. And there's no commitment from the board to do anything until we've got the audit together. We've all reviewed the financials. We submit paperwork to Eversource. They come back, certify what the incentive is for the project, and then you sign basically the work order. Up until that point, we're kind of working at risk to bring the project together.
Have you been here before? I heard that you already did part of the audit before in the past.
So I've been through these buildings on a few occasions. We did the solar projects in the schools, which I think worked out really well or performed as advertised. We did a site walk on all the schools. I think it might have been 2017.
Okay.
Kind of a while ago. So I don't know what's different. Our auditor would have to come back and do a thorough count, because I don't think we went, fixture by fixture or anything.
Okay.
1 second, Adam.
Sir, I move to extend the meeting to not extend past 10:30.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Alexis to extend our meeting to 10:30, not past 10:30. Seconded by Nicole. Any discussion? No. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Go ahead, Mark.
Adam, how do people like the lighting? As far as, is there warm lighting, or is it,
Yeah,
some
so
LED lights are pretty tough to work in, for staff, so.
It has come a long way in the past few years to have different color temperatures, they call them. So typically, we don't see that kind of white light in interior spaces anymore. People just, they're not crazy about it. So there tends to be a softer, kind of yellower light, one that mimics, the feel of like a fluorescent, but without the hum, obviously. And, it's just easier on the eyes, I think. I don't know if, I don't see a situation where we'd be reducing or adding any fixtures to the building. It's likely that things would just sort of stay as is, and we'd relamp and stuff. But that's part of the process that we could make sure that whatever we use is approved first, as far as aesthetics and things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin has something he would like to ask.
He's in the computer.
He's on the computer.
Sorry.
Kevin,
Go, Kevin.
go ahead.
Yeah. Is this the right play? We're talking about Berkeley? Is the right play itself?
No, this is Titan.
This is fine. Okay,
Yep.
so what's the difference between us purchasing the fixtures ourselves, or the lights ourselves, and having an electrician install them, and paying that up front, as opposed to entering into a long-term agreement with Titan Energy?
Well, it's not a long-term agreement with Titan Energy. It's a 4-year on-bill 0% finance package from Eversource. So that's when municipalities have the option to do it that way instead of dipping into their funds, their capital budget. If they can get 0% on-bill financing, that's kind of a no-brainer. in our view.
I can get these pictures, I'm told it costs from Grant Group and other people, and get that discount, whoever source, ourselves. Is that not true?
I mean, you could conceivably do, whatever's within your capability to do. I mean, I'm here just as, having experience with these projects, GCing them, doing it effectively, ensuring that as we're working with the utility, you're getting the maximum incentive. And if you want to use the on-bill financing, that's an option too. So, I think generally speaking, we have, doing this at building after building after building, have a really good process down. We will get 3 separate quotes for both the labor and the equipment. And we find that when we run that process, it works pretty well, and it's seamless for the end user. And given the fact that you've got about 6-7 weeks to get this done, I think having a crew that's experienced and ready to hit the ground running is probably a good thing.
Well, that'd be great. I just want to make sure, I'd like to compare, do a cost comparison between what you propose and what we could actually buy the pictures for and have our own electricians do the project for. I think that'd be a great comparison, cost comparison.
Sure.
Thank you.
Would you also do like the gymnasium lights?
Yeah. So any light that's
Any light
here-
fixture whatsoever?
Yeah, and we do more than just lighting, but I understand that lighting is really the focus at this point. You tend to get enhanced incentives from Eversource if you include other measures. So we'd look probably to more like intelligent lighting controls to kind of enhance that incentive and to make them more effective. And that's something that we're particularly good at. That kind of goes above and beyond just swapping bulbs and stuff.
Do you also look at the lighting in the parking lots and stuff like that?
Exterior as well.
Nicole, what would be our next step?
I would like to have the audit done by Titan, and then we'll also take the quote that Kevin's going to give us too, and then hopefully by the next Board of Ed meeting, I'd like to have a report by both, and then move forward, because I would really be interested in taking advantage of the rebates from Eversource, if the board allows that.
Okay, any discussion? Right.
Okay, so what's our next move?
Right,
Make a motion.
right. It's not an action item for us, so, and it's not costing us anything, so.
So can we just tell Adam,
We just go
right?
ahead and do it.
Can we just have Adam go ahead and start, and hopefully he'll be done in 4 weeks?
Yep. So once I get out of here on my way home, I'll email the project coordinator for this and get the audit set up. Who should I coordinate the audit through?
Through me and Kevin.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, everybody. Nice.
Thanks for waiting so long.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for waiting forever. All right, well, speaking of, we have to move quickly.
Okay, let's go.
All right, this brings us to our action items. Action item number 1, letters of resignation.
I move we accept the resignations with thanks.
Okay, moved by Maureen, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Do I have any motion on the floor for numbers 2, 3,
4 and 5. I move we accept these as presented.
Second.
Maureen moves that we accept items 2, 3, 4, and 5 as presented, and that was seconded by Nicole. Any
You may
discussion?
notice that all 3 of them are our current policies plus the 3 COVID policies.
Okay, 3 current policy updates and 3
COVID
policies.
Yeah. That's 2 numbers.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
That was it.
All those in favor of approving items 2, 3, 4, and 5? That passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, number 6, act on tuition costs for children of staff members. Can we have a little background please for that, Bob?
Yes. So at a recent committee meeting, I presented that we have at least 2 staff members that have asked for the tuition rate for sending their children to our schools. So in your packet, there is a copy of the policy that the board sets a tuition rate on an annual basis for certified staff members to send their children to our schools. This is the first time I'm actually asking you to set that rate because we haven't had any requests in the past. So Bob and I did some research on what the Lebanon Board of Ed has done in the past, as well as what other boards of ed have in their policies or practices. So what we proposed to the subcommittee was to use the rate that we charge districts that have tuition agreements with us, but 25% of that rate. So the current year rate is $11,424. At 25%, the tuition rate would be $2,856. And that would be gen ed tuition. Special ed tuition would be billed separately. And I don't want to speak for the committee, but the committee discussed that proposal, but they also discussed, due to the unique circumstances that we are in this year for COVID-19, this could be something that would greatly help our district staff who might be having difficulty with daycare issues, et cetera, because they live in a different town, their kids could be on a different schedule than we are, and it creates problems. And so the committee had made the recommendation to waive tuition for this year, except for special ed costs.
Questions? Mark?
Well, just, I was in that discussion, I was trying to think, what was the final recommendation? Because right now, thinking about it now, I sort of agree with the 25% level for, to go, because that was your original proposal. And there was, because it was all, we were sort of all over the dial with their full, the full 11,000, and change.
But our final recommendation was to waive it, because we discussed how the hardships that it would present on staff, and then we talked about the special ed costs that we would charge for that, and then also we were looking at the numbers, like if all these kids are going into third grade, that might present a problem. But if they're all spread out amongst the grade levels, then it wouldn't be a problem.
No.
Right now would be 3 children, and they would be spread out.
Yep.
Okay.
So the parents are paying this tuition or the town where they live?
It would be our staff members that would pay it.
The parents.
The parent.
Not this year. So this year, what the recommendation from the board, from the subcommittee was that this year it would be 0 unless there was special ed services that town, correct me if I'm wrong, the town they live in would pay the special ed costs.
No,
correct?
the parent.
Oh, the actual parent
yeah.
would pay the special ed costs.
Yes.
Bob's got his hand up.
So this, we're not talking about this year?
Yes, we
are
are.
talking about
this
just
school
this
year.
year.
So number 2 on the list, the document about it, tuition for children, our policy. Number 2 says approval to be considered on a space available basis. And to me, depending on what classes they're in, this is shrinking our capacity. I mean, I'd love to help a staff member out if they're having this kind of issue, but it does take the place of a Lebanon student. It doesn't take the place of, it takes away the room that we're talking about.
In certain grades, it would pose a problem. But
Right. Depends on the grade.
Right, but we would always leave that up to Bob's discretion. So if it was, say it was, for example, I can't remember what grade it was, that had 26 kids in a class.
5th grade is pretty big.
Then we would probably say no, right?
Yes. Yes, I would say no. I believe that there's high school involved, and the class sizes are smaller there. And I think there was elementary So I would have to look at the grades, right? Space available.
So my concern is if we vote to approve, which I understand the hardship and if spacing is an issue, but if we say yes to current knowing the grades, but then others parents of our district who come in who need something and it does present a problem, now we're saying no to somebody but yes to others, and I'm not sure that we're being consistent there either.
We discussed that, Bob, right, in the subcommittee? Correct me if I'm wrong, but we were talking about capping it.
So again, it would be, the capping it discussion was also based upon how big the class sizes were or are in the grade levels that our staff members may want to introduce their children, right? And so if we can't accommodate it, the answer would be no.
All right.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I did not attend this meeting, and I'm sorry I did not make it. I have a real problem with this whole idea because there's a lot of people that have had hardship in this town, and they're not getting discounts on their taxes. They're not getting discounts on their car taxes or any of that. Yet we're asked to use taxpayer money to give a discount to a teacher. I have a real problem with that. I think that that's wrong because everyone in town has suffered hardship with COVID. And I understand that it's difficult for the teachers, but it's difficult for every single family in this town. And I think that this sets them as a special group, and I really have an issue with that.
I would argue with that. I'm sorry, and I'm a minute, John. My argument to that would be they're not currently paying for this public education in their own town, so it's not like they're getting a discount. It's just a matter of bringing them to the community. I get your point, right? Because now we're funding.
But we're going to provide services to them.
Right, but
at
it's not
no
like they're
charge.
making money off of it.
At no charge, but the proposal is for no charge, and I cannot accept no charge.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't remember whether we've decided on the 25% or no charge. And I'll be also honest, and I would favor it either way. And the reason is that I think in recent past, we've voted on things unanimously saying, hey, we want to keep our teachers here. And this would be another example. We reach out to them because I quite honestly get very, very alarmed when I see a lot of resignations. And I would hate something like this to say to a teacher, say I can't do it because my kids in a district where they are now, they're now remote learning, and I just can't do it. This is a 1-year thing. I think we pretty it. So I would definitely be in favor of both.
Thank you.
Dr. Pesky's had his hand up for a long time.
The question got answered.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It was through subject to space availability, which was discussed in the subcommittee. So I went through my hand.
Sorry about that, Bob.
That's okay.
Nicole?
And I think we also have to keep in mind, this is for 1 year only. So if these children decide to stay in our district for the 21-22 school year, then things would change and we would be requiring them to pay the full tuition or whatever, the board decides. If they don't, they're not going to be here. But I mean, I know everyone's hitting some hard times here, but like we have 6 letters from different teachers about how they're frustrated. So if we can ease their burden just a little bit, I mean, isn't the whole theme of COVID be kind? So like waiving the tuition for 3 or 4 kids, if the classes are not oversized, how is that such a bad idea if it makes our teachers happy?
And it reduces a little bit of stress from a teacher or 2 or,
Right.
I know that everybody is struggling right now, but and a lot of other districts are doing this. We're not the first ones to be, making this case. I think that
I just have a real problem with 0.
Right, but we're getting so many rebates from the state, COVID money from the state. We're getting all the grants. They're all increasing money, so we have some money coming into us. This is not leaving us at a disadvantage at all.
I think the big understanding is that Bob has the capability of saying, I'm sorry, but this grade level and these classes, it's just not gonna work for us. But, and the circumstances might not be the same. We have 2 preschool students, we have plenty of space, and I'm assuming, I don't actually know. But if we have plenty of space in preschool, yes, of course, makes your life that much easier for a short amount of time. All right, any further discussion? Oh, go ahead, Janelle.
If we had 20 people, let's say, saying they want to bring their 20 kids to school, I love that it's helping Lebanon with rising numbers, but it's like saying there's only 2 or 3. What if there were 20? Would we be wanting more money? Because it puts a burden on the teacher. It puts 1 more student on them. And some would say, well, what's 1 more? I already have 15. But I just think about bringing another person in without considering the cost, literally, in some ways.
But I also think that if these teachers were desperate enough to bring their kids out of their homeschool town, there really must be a problem. I would personally not take my kids and put them in Middletown. Like, I don't want to take them away from their friends and everything that's familiar. So these teachers must be hitting like rock bottom to request this of Bob. So I just think of that too.
Dawn?
I am in support of this. My question is about materials. Like, do we have enough Chromebooks? Do we have, like, my 2nd grader was sent home with, like, it was bigger than stuff. It was amazing, but, like, we didn't even have enough room. So that type of stuff, do we have it available, or will we have to make purchases?
So not knowing exactly what grades the children are in, I do know that we have the devices, classroom packets of stuff that I couldn't say, but we would be able to work that out.
Maureen?
I agree with Matt. I think we ought to charge them a little something. I'd like the 25%.
What's your reason?
We're going to be stressing out the teachers by adding more kids. We already know that we've got class sizes that are questionable, and the teachers are stressed, and they all the kids that are coming from other towns already the towns are paying, but somebody's paying. And so I don't see why we add extra students from somewhere else.
Parents aren't working for our system. These teachers are working for us.
I understand that.
Matt?
What about the health concerns? What if you have a family that comes from an area that has, for example, all of a sudden a huge rise in COVID? Let's say they're from New London or down by the shore where the COVID numbers have gone way up, and all those people are at distance learning, yet this child comes from that area and now comes into our school. And it just adds another component into his decision as to whether or not to keep the schools going the way it is, that I think is another thing to think about. It's not just a simple let the kid come to the school. It's not that simple. It's the stress on the teachers, it's the health concerns, it's the added cost that there will be there. The child will use resources. They will use resources, no matter how you look at it. And if you put that at 0, there's a problem there.
Well, then how do we handle new kids? New kids are coming from all over the state. How do we handle that? We tell them they can't come?
Well, and my other argument would be that we do have kids from other districts that are coming into our high school at Colchester. Wyndham? Do we have Wyndham School?
We don't have one.
No, Parish Hill kids over from that neck of the woods. So we, in Basra,
Yeah,
Colchester.
like 13 different towns possibly for ag, and then we have the tuition agreement with Sprague, Basra, and Franklin.
Okay,
Dawn? So I think if the concern is if it's financial, then just say it's financial. I think we need to be really careful to say it's going to add stress to teachers who are already stressed. I could argue that maybe a teacher would be happy to have another, like a colleague's student in their class, so maybe it wouldn't add stress. And also, unless it's going to force us to hire more teachers, we're already working, we're already running, and the argument that say like somebody's going to come from New London, well, that teacher is already coming from New London.
Mm-hmm.
So if the concern is financial, that's the concern, but like just be clear that that's what your concern is.
Okay, thank you for that. So if there's no further discussion, we should
Well,
take a vote.
just one more thing. Just whatever we decide to do, however this goes, I think we all know it's not precedent setting for this is one year, because I think the intent of the subcommittee was we wanted to, help our staff.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that was it. And even the 25% is helping, or whatever the number is, whatever we decide. So
Yeah.
this is not precedent setting.
That's right. Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to accept the staff members' children if there is room at no cost to the parent, unless there are special ed costs.
Good. Nicole. Motion by Nicole. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor? That's John, Alexis, Nicole, Dawn, Sarah. All those opposed? That's Mark, Danelle, Matt, and Maureen. No extension, so that motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 7, act on snow and ice control contract renewal.
Okay, so quickly, Nicole has already briefly spoken to this during her committee report. The committee, the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee met. We invited the first selectman and anyone else from the Board of Selectmen. So Kevin Zwickler came and Kathleen Smith came from the Board of Selectmen. We discussed at the subcommittee meeting because it requires town approval as well as Board of Ed approval to move forward with the snow removal contract. Nicole said that subcommittee decided that it was not something that we could change for this year, but a separate committee would be formed to study snow removal and other ways to make that happen. So the recommendation out of the subcommittee with the endorsement of the first selectman and Kathleen Smith is to approve a one-year contract extension with Pondview Farms, which is actually a 0% increase in costs for this year.
Motion to approve the snow contract for 1 year for Pondview.
I'll second that.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Renewing for 1 year the snow and ice removal. That is unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. We will adjourn.
Nope.
Oh, no. Adjourn.
So
Okay,
we're asking the board to add an action item to approve the E-rate grant so we can move forward with the Wi-Fi enhancement project.
For this month, right now?
Yes.
Yep. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the E-rate?
No, you have to make a motion to add the.
Oh, yes, thank you. It's
I
too
make a
late.
motion, we add an action item to the,
Second.
to approve the E-rate.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Nicole, motion by Maureen, seconded by Nicole to add an action item to act on the E-rate grant. Got that? Okay, thank you. All those, any discussion on adding the action item? No. All those in favor, raise your hand. Add the action item. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Now we have an action item on the floor.
Motion to approve the E-rate project.
I'll second that.
I'll second one.
I beat you to it.
Okay, motion by Nicole, seconded by Mark.
Oh, I was first.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I
All
was
those in
first.
favor of approving the E-rate? Oh, that is unanimous. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you very much.
And then are we doing
And
items?
any items for next agenda?
So the lighting,
Well, that's more of a discussion, isn't it?
well, he's going to do a presentation and then we're going to, okay, yeah, so, but you have to put it on the agenda, right? At whatever it is.
Okay. And just email if you have any other items, okay?
Okay.
All right, we will adjourn at 10:28. 2 minutes
you.
to spare, thank you.
So Maureen,
Yes. No, might have been my father, though.
That's not
No, he went to
nice.
Bacon. My father would have been, if we graduated in 23, my father would have been 26. And my mother would have been 4. George Lyman or Lyman High? His name was George. There you go.
although he must have been a really nice man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Donating all that money.
He found North, they named him Jim after. That's why I sit that long. I can't walk. I like myself.
What'd you say?
After I sat that long, my leg doesn't want to work. Oh. Tired of sitting. All right. Am I going to get wet? That Chelsea gave me all the paperwork I wanted. What a